Hey guys, Pastor Nate here with this week's 2-minute teaching. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Hope you are wearing your green, or not, it doesn't really matter. But I was just thinking about St. Patrick today. And you know, we have this holiday that we celebrate in the United States, and the funny thing is it isn't really even celebrated in Ireland. But here in the US, we celebrate Irish heritage, and we do green things, and we have shamrocks, and we have all the stuff that goes along with it, and you know, the pot of gold and all that stuff. But the root of St. Patrick's Day is a man named Patrick, and actually he wasn't actually canonized as a saint as far as the Roman Church goes, but we know as a believer and a follower of Jesus Christ, he was a saint, absolutely. But on St. Patrick's Day, the reality is that we are celebrating a man who brought the gospel message to an entire nation. And he was a lowly slave at one point in his life. That's all that he was. And God delivered him through that. And he called him to go back to this Ireland where he wasn't actually a native from Ireland. He was a slave in Ireland. God had called him to go to Ireland to preach the gospel. And as he stepped out in that boldness, God met him there and used him in incredible ways. And the cool thing that I think about this is, you know, you think about St. Patrick, and he didn't have any formal theological training. He was a man that just loved the Lord and had a passion for people. And the example that he is to us is that you, whoever you are, wherever you are, sitting where you are in the same position that St. Patrick was. You have the same opportunities that St. Patrick had. And the question is whether you will answer that call that God has already given you, the Great Commission we call it, to go and preach the gospel to all nations. And so as you go throughout, especially these next couple weeks leading up to Easter, think about how you can have that same heart as St. Patrick, realizing, man, God has called me to reach my community. God has called me to reach my neighbors. God has called me to reach my family members and to share the gospel with them. You can share the gospel. You have a story. And you may not feel qualified for it, but St. Patrick wasn't qualified for it. He didn't have a theological degree or anything like that. He was just a man, a lowly slave who God used. And God wants to use you the same way. And so be encouraged in that this week. Start thinking about who you want to invite to the Easter services at our church, at Calvary Belmar, or at the church that you go to. Start thinking about who that is, pray for that person, and then invite them. That's the very least thing you can do, is think about who you can invite to Easter. So do that, and then start praying about how God might influence your heart for people in your community to